From the ashes, a new beginning. X-Men. We're back with X-Men. My channel, when I rebranded a while back, a few years ago, I rebranded starting with the Powers of 10 and House of X. And my channel was covering every single X-Men comic or mutant-related comic that had come out. The playlist is still there. You can check all that out. After about a couple of years, I said, yeah, I'm good. I love the X-Men. Cyclops is my favorite Marvel character. I've got a big, huge Sentinel tattoo. I got Cyclops here as well. I got a bunch of X-Men on me. So I love X-Men. X-Men 97 was friggin' awesome. I really wish they just did X-Men 97 comics. Like, just they did. Those were okay. But just do that normally. Anyway, all right. Let's talk about this using my space system: story, pacing, artistry, characters, enjoyment. Each category gets a score between 0 and 2. 2 is the best you can get in any category. I just, before I even do that, I haven't read anything for the past, like, let's say year or so with Krakoa. I just, that era became very boring to me. It was very exciting when it started. I thought this will be a neat little thing. Thought it might last a year. It'd be a kind of a fun thing to do, and then they'd kind of get back to basics, and it didn't happen, and it just dragged on. And the X-Men being gods and lording over everybody and terraforming Mars and all this other nonsense, I'm like, what does this have to do with X-Men? Like, X-Men was supposed to be the mutant outcasts. The tagline is that they are protecting those that hate or fear them, and fear them. And that kind of went away. It's like, you're supposed to have the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, the Mutant Liberation Front, whatever, all these bad mutants who are making it look bad for everybody. And then you got the X-Men who are fighting them, but nobody believes in the X-Men. They're like, well, I don't know, they're mutants too, so I don't know. That was the cool part. And I think when you're reading X-Men, you feel like, oh, I'm an X-Men, you know? And the X-Men, like, clearly they're better than anyone else because they're mutants. So obviously if someone says, do you want to just live your life normal, or do you want to have these cool powers? You're probably going to say, well, I want these cool powers. If you're a comic book reader, that was the kind of the magic of X-Men. Because a generic person might just be like, well, I don't know, I don't want to have these weird powers and be different. But a comic book reader already felt different because you're like, oh, I'm reading comics. It's kind of goofy. It's nerdy. It's for kids, and you're an idiot, or you're a juvenile or whatever. Grow up. Stop reading these comics. And you felt a connection to X-Men, saying, you know what, you guys all suck. It's like, I wish I had powers, right? And that was kind of your connection to X-Men. That went away when they're ruling over everybody. This was like some weird kind of wrong fantasy of like, oh, now I'm going to rule over everybody. It's like, is that what superheroes do? I don't know. Like, that was what the mutant bad guys were doing. Anyways, so hopefully we're back to basics here. We are and we're not. I'm giving the story a 1.5 out of a potential 2. So it was better than what I thought it was going to be. I thought, you know what, I'm not sure. I've kind of lost faith. X-Men 97, which is on the back here, this really brought my faith back into X-Men, into the brand. This was pretty good. I'm going to give it a favorable review. It's not going to be very high score, but it'll be a decent score. I will give it 1.5 for the storyline, and I don't know what's going on I read nothing. I don't know anything what happened prior to this in the last like year or two, maybe year and a half, or maybe even 2 years. But it looks like 6 new mutants have been discovered. Cyclops and his team are out to get them. And they look like, I don't want to say AIM, but they're kind of like AIM guys. So these guys are the mutants. They're saying that they're adult mutants, so that's weird. So the gene is active in adults. And I don't know if they're former Orcus members. I don't really know exactly, because there's still connections to what was going on previous to that. So I'm not exactly sure, but I'm interested because there is a little bit of a mystery as to, okay, who are these mutant adults? It's something. It's better than what I thought. If you get what you think, you get a 1, right? But if you get a little bit extra, I give it a 0.5 extra. There's also the subplot here of the chief of police in Alaska. So that's where their new headquarters is in Alaska. There's a new chief of police who comes to talk with Beast, and he kind of introduces her into what's going on. So it's a little bit of an introduction to where they're at. Magneto shows up, of course, and you got your team of guys that Cyclops is leading. So there's someone here called Temper. I do not know who this character is. I'll get to characters shortly. Everybody else, you know. So it's like Psylocke and Kid Omega, Juggernaut, Magic, Beast, right? Wolverine's in there. So there you go. For the pacing, I'm actually going to give it a 1.5 for the pacing. It's a little bit bigger. It's a bigger issue, but I actually felt that there was a lot of cool action. I like when X-Men has action. I think the cartoon found like sort of your perfect blend. This is very good too. A lot of fights, big fights going on while the stories intercut in between them. To me, that's sort of your perfect balance. I'm close to saying it's perfect pacing. I'm very close to saying it. I might change my mind, but it's definitely a 1.5 for sure out of 2. I only do in 0.5 increments. I don't do 2.25s. If I did, I'd say it's like 1.8, or I'd say 1.75, let's say. But I'll stick with 1.5. There is lots of action, so I'm glad about that. The art, I'm going to give it a 1.5 as well. You know, I like the art here. I have to say, I do like it. I'm not super dying over some of the costumes, like with Juggernaut having that X on his head or whatever. Cyclops is my favorite character. His costume's like okay. I'm not super dying over it either, but I do think everything looks really good, and it was a fun read, and you know, some of the layouts were okay too. See, again, I'm not sure if this, this is somewhat interesting, this Magneto Professor X hybrid kind of look. I'm still getting used to it. Let me get back to you in later issues. I'm going to review these. I'll get back to you on later issues on what I think of the costume designs. It takes a while for me to think about it. You know, I do like it here. I'm not sure if I like the shoes though. So I have to think about it. Psylocke looks kind of cool, but you know, you're never going to beat the classic Jim Lee kind of looking Psylocke. Beast is Beast, and Magic always looks cool, so she's just standard. For characters, I'm gonna have to give it a 1. My problem is that Juggernaut wasn't. I'm not dying over him as a hero. Psylocke was like okay. Kid Omega's kind of annoying. I like Magic because I just like Magic anyways. Cyclops is my favorite. I like Beast. Temperature, I guess is what they're saying. Temper. I'm kind of like in between. I actually think she looks kind of neat, or she looks unique enough to me that it's like, so she can change the temperature of things. There's not really a great shot of her costume, or lack thereof maybe. But I actually think she is kind of neat. She's kind of neat, but I'm not sure what to think of her. So the villains, nothing's going on with the villains. I have to reserve judgment. She's a new character for me. I don't know if she's appeared in other things prior to this. So let's see how I feel about her later on. The chief of police lady, she's okay. Like Magneto's okay in this, I guess, you know. Yeah, so I'm sticking with a 1 out of 2. I have to see where it goes, but I do like the characters. The enjoyment factor, I'm going to give it a 1.5, and I'm giving it that because I didn't think I was going to give it a 1.5. I thought, yeah, it was okay. You know, but I kind of liked it. I read it actually. I read it this morning. I kind of let it like, you know, simmer in my mind before I started doing a review. But yeah, I did like it. I think it was pretty good. I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10 score. Pretty good first issue. Let's see where it goes. I want to be excited. So here's my thing. I actually want to be excited about X-Men, so I'm tending to look more favorably on things that others might think isn't good. So there's a bias there. 7 out of 10 is pretty good, considering that I thought the last bunch of things were really boring. So we'll see where it goes. I want to tell you guys about my channel sponsor, beardedshirts.com. Check this out. Just in time for Deadpool and Wolverine. You got Shatterstar in here as well. This is a print all over shirt. So they've got tons of X-Men shirts on beardedshirts.com. So definitely check those guys out. They're just awesome. So that's it, everybody. If you liked the video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing. That's it. Until next time.